Welcome to Action Energy Market Global podcast. My name is Tarja Teppo. I'm the founder of Action Energy Finance. In this video podcast, we interview people that work with clean transition. We highlight solutions and stories behind them and explore project financing options utilized. Okay, and today we got Nikolas Salomaa from Nolla E to the podcast, and let's first start with what brings you to the area of energy efficiency and buildings. What's your personal path to this area?
I've always been interested in energy efficiency of buildings and cars and pretty much everything. And 2008, I built the first passive house in Finland.
Oh, right.
And that was a very educating experience about.
I can imagine.
It was energy efficiency was a new thing for the construction industry, and it was a long, hard process, but we did it.
But that was that a like one family house, or was that
one family house? Yeah, I was not in this business by then. I wanted to get into. I had just made an exit from my previous company and wanted to do something, looking for something new. And energy efficiency was interesting, and then when I built my house, my passive house, I just found out that the construction industry is not complete yet.
All right. So that's actually a very interesting path. You sort of, from a first-hand experience, you sort of realize that, this could be working so much better. I mean, I assume that's what you mean, right?
Yes.
So then when you decided to, when is actually Nolla E? When is it founded?
2014.
2014.
So before starting Nolla E, I got into another startup where I bought my heating system for my passive house from.
Okay.
Which was an excellent product, really good. It could have been a really big story because the product is really good. But instead of bringing a breakthrough and a global product, it became a bankruptcy. And the reason was that it was too new for the market, for the construction industry. It was too, since building zero carbon houses in 2008 and 2009 was totally too early. Now is the time for that type of products. It was a Finnish small startup that had invented the system, and the product, I still have it. I still live in that house, and it works perfectly. But the company.
So the idea was right. Yeah, so the idea was right, but just too early in the market.
10 years too early. Yeah.
That's right. So you said 2014. So Nolla E has been around 10 years, so almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you sort of shortly explain, what is it actually then what Nolla E does? If it's not in the one family residential space, so what is it what Nolla E does, and in what segment?
Yeah. Nolla has created a software that calculates for any building in the world the most profitable way to make that building carbon neutral or zero carbon. And we do some one family houses maybe like a few a year, but mainly our customers are property investors who want to make good investments and raise the value of their properties, and that's pretty much property investors. And also we have some what do you call it? Developers.
Institutional investors?
Developers. Yeah, institutional investors also, but developers and property investors.
Okay. So you said that you sort of you're able to analyze for a building. What are the what are the sort of the best available? Is that based on sort of like the cost structure? That what is the
Yeah, it's based on that specific building. The software starts with making a simulation of that specific building, and the input data is everything in that building as it is for real. We actually draw a 3D model. We make a digital twin of the building with
okay.
all the details of the real building that are there. For instance, we even put in every radiator in the building. And
Okay.
for ventilation units, we don't just put in every ventilation unit, but also every part in every ventilation unit, like
Okay.
supply fan, this, exhaust fan, this, heat recovery, this, and so on.
To be able to bring sort of the building data, what's there, the radiators, the HVAC equipment, the whatever else. Is this doable, like as easily doable for any building, say that it's if the building is built like say 2000 versus 1950? I mean, if I'm a building owner and I'm thinking of, okay, this sounds great, I'm going to find out what's the best energy efficiency measure for my building. Is it equally easy for everybody, or are there differences?
It starts to be quite easy for everybody because there is a limited amount of manufacturers of HVAC equipment in the world.
Mm.
So there is just a limited amount of radiators you can have. And most of those we have already in the software. So you just have to tell which one it is. And that's the thing we do.
Okay.
And you said, what energy efficiency measure?
Mm.
It's never one measure.
Mm.
That there are good measures that you can get some return on investment with. But if you want to get the best possible return on investment, it's never 1 or 2 or even 5. It's like 10 or 20 energy efficiency
Okay.
measures that together bring the best return, because they all affect each other. And therefore,
Right.
it's always a mix of several things done together.
Okay. Okay. So if you look at sort of, I mean, because you must have implemented this for for a rather large amount of buildings already. So is it for the building owner or operator, is this a surprise what comes out? I mean, are they sort of assuming that, okay, it's going to be the heating system? That's sort of our pain point. But then it turns out it's the windows, or it's the roof leaking, or something like this. Is there a surprise element in this, or is it sort of like are these sort of initial assumptions of the client right? What would you say?
It's always a surprise for the owner, but it's also a surprise most of the time for us doing it.
Really?
Even
Oh,
if we have done 1,000 buildings, approximately 1,000 buildings, still every time we get it done, we're always, really, like that? Okay.
and all right. So is it like, if you look at, so out of your simulation, does it come out that these are the, out of the simulation, these are the top three things that mostly affect, or what's the outcome? How does it look?
No, the outcome is the perfect combination. It's
Okay.
here there is like a bunch of energy efficiency measures, let's say 20.
Mm.
How they should be performed, by using what parts, what is the cost of doing them, and when they're done, what is the return, what is the impact on CO2 emissions, what is the impact on energy consumption, and so on. And
Okay.
also what is the impact on the comfort, because quite often we also make the comfort better in the buildings.
Yes.
Not
The
always, but often.
So how does this tool work? Is it more like Nolla E? And for those that are non-Finnish speakers, Nolla means zero, right? So does Nolla E, I mean, is it you using the tool, or is this something that the customer is able to say, okay, I want to sort of say that we don't want to do anything with the windows, for example, or we don't want to change the heating system, but excluding these, what are the suggested measures? Is this the
Yeah,
way it works? So
yeah, we do that. Yeah, and sometimes they don't want to get the best return on investment. The customer might want to know what is the most cost efficient way to get to a energy class or
right.
something like that. So there are very many different users. But to the other question, who is using it? Currently, it's us at Nollai. We are in Finland and in Czech Republic currently.
All right.
But we are doing projects all over the European Union, and we are hopefully soon also will be starting in the States. And
Okay.
but this is not the final thing we are aiming at. We are aiming at making the software so easy to use that it can also be used by others than ourselves. And
Okay.
actually,
And
we
the
are.
others would be project developers, or the others would be the actual clients, the end
I would
clients,
say
the
the
owners.
others would be energy consultants in different
Okay.
countries. So we are
Okay.
actually looking for the best partners in each country to
Okay.
partner up with.
So in other words, if there's somebody online listening to the podcast is in this business, is a developer in a certain market, so I assume they could contact you directly.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. The going back to what you said, that it gives sort of, it suggests what should be the measures implemented, and it gives the costs. Is that where your sort of job ends, or do you also sort of go more on the financing side? Or what happens when the customer says, "Great, now we know what should be done"? So are you involved there, or do you have partners there, or what's the model from there?
Yeah. In Finland and Czech Republic, we also do the design. The next process. The next after. First, we calculate what are we going to do and how,
Yeah.
and after that, when the owner of the building has made a decision, yeah, we want to go on with this. The next step is design, and depending on where we are, we can do the design, or if we can't, then we find a local partner that is able to do the design. And then after designing, then it's the bidding process and the commissioning, and there are also local partners is what we're then all
Okay.
anyway looking for.
Okay. So basically, you do the sort of simulation and with the results, and then the partners help the customer to do the actual implementation.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, how often? I mean, you said that, okay, 1,000 buildings. I mean, that is impressive. So how often is it that, when the customer actually has implemented, some or more of the methods, do you also track sort of, are you able to sort of then, go back and track that, what you simulated actually is delivered? How does that work?
Yeah, we have. This is actually a quite new thing. Previously, we did that manually, just checked
Okay.
that everything is as designed. But now we have automated this part. We have
Okay.
created together with the VTT, the Finnish scientific, I don't know what's called,
Research Institute, I think
research
that's what it's
institute.
called.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and Nokia actually.
Okay.
We're in a project where we are actually have created a feedback loop so that our software checks on the building all the time that everything is going as it is supposed to. And
Right.
if it finds that there is something wrong, it tells us, and also, of course, the customer or then the management company that is taking care of the building, so that they know that, okay, something's wrong now. I have to
Okay. All
correct
right.
this.
All right. So it's like remote monitoring. So if I
Yeah,
understand right, so this is sort
yeah,
of okay.
yeah. There is remote monitoring. There has always been, well, for a long time there has been remote monitoring. What's new is that we're not monitoring the normal HVAC processes in the building as the other remote monitorings are. We're only monitoring the energy performance to make sure that it finds the optimal. And as an extra thing, we also do optimize the electricity use of the building, so that we try to use as much as possible of the electricity during the hours where electricity is cheap, and minimize the hours where electricity is expensive. And this is also,
you connected sort of like spot electricity contract, and then you're able to, I guess you use sort of energy storage and maybe some other things, or the way you drive the HVAC equipment. Is that how you do it?
Yeah. Everything that happens in the building all the time.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for us to optimize that.
Okay.
It's
how is it? Sorry that I interrupted. When it simulates, is it a machine learning system? Is it sort of like it's running for a couple of weeks and learns what the building is, how that works? So is it a snapshot in time, or how?
It's a simulation software similar to other simulation softwares, and they are doing the simulation according to the technical details of the building. So they are actually calculating. If you have this thick walls, you have this much energy consumption with this temperature, ambient temperature, and so on. But with this feedback loop, we are also collecting data from the buildings to enrich the algorithm about, like, there is a lot of stuff to learn. Like, specifically when we go to other markets where there might be some kind of typical features with buildings that do not show in the building blueprints and stuff like that. We can find small details that make it even better.
Okay. That actually sort of brings me to the next question, which is like you mentioned that you have simulated the buildings or your clients in Finland and in the Czech. So if you look at the Czech buildings versus Finnish buildings, are there differences of what comes up as what should be the measures that should be implemented?
Yeah, of course, there are differences. There are differences already when you go to Sweden, or Norway, or Denmark, like big differences.
Oh, that's interesting. Why is that? Is that because like it's even colder in Finland, or is it the way the buildings have been constructed, or?
It's the way the buildings have been constructed, because all countries have like a construction code that says what you're allowed to do and how and so on, and they're always different. And even the ones that are the closest, Sweden and Finland, which are almost the same, there is still very big differences, which also makes it we have several projects in Sweden right now, and they are totally different from the project in Finland, even if the buildings are almost exactly the same. So
that's interesting. Give me an example of if you would take, because I mean, you mentioned earlier that there's always the surprise element, even for you. If you can share some case study, I mean, it doesn't need to be, you don't need to mention the actual building or client, but something that surprised you or surprised the clients.
Because these are very complicated HVAC details that only HVAC people will understand. So I'm trying to think about something that is more general.
Down to earth.
Yeah.
No worries, we can come back to the if you sort of, but if we take from the because I mean you've done this now in several countries, 1,000 buildings, so there must be sort of the lessons learned that you've come across over the years, that that if somebody asks that, um, over the 10 years that you've been building the company, and you've been simulating the buildings and finding the measures, so what would you say, either for a real estate owner or somebody who's building a company in the real estate sustainability energy use space, what are the lessons learned from the Nolla E founder perspective when building a business in this space or trying to make buildings more energy efficient?
Yeah, it's the best, uh, the most profitable things are never simple, and also it's like one thing that is, if you spend a little bit more in the design process, you can save 10 times that when you're actually building or doing something.
So is
And
this sort
in
of
some
regards to the architects or to the or is it more to the HVAC designers? So, or where does that design
it's
fault?
general. It's just
Okay.
a general thing, because the problem in construction is that there's always a hurry. And when you have a hurry, people are not robots. They don't perform at their best when they have a hurry, and they have a lot of stress. It's actually the opposite. The more stress you have, the poorer decisions you make. So, if possible, try to avoid unnecessary hurry.
Right.
It's so common with the hurry that some construction business people create a hurry even if there wasn't any. Like we have a building that is built in the 60s, and we start making an energy renovation to make the energy performance better, and suddenly there is a great hurry. It has to happen in just a couple of weeks and days and stuff. And if the building has been there since the 60s as it is right now, so where did the hurry come from?
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
just
It's a
stress
2 weeks
people.
here and there.
Yeah, yeah, and they lose a lot of money that way, because when designers are trying to design and they have a lot of stress, they usually don't come up with the best things.
Okay. So if we take that as one lesson learned, or sort of maybe as an advice for companies doing the energy renovation plans or the initial design, it's like spend time enough on sort of looking at energy efficiency matters. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah. Then of course this is not simple either. Like nothing is simple in the construction industry, because if you have the wrong designers, if you give them 6 months extra, they will just do other jobs for 6 months and then do this project in a couple of days anyway, and
yeah.
stress. So it's there's no simple. It's the construction industry is complicated.
Construction industry is complicated. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's for sure. But if we sort of pull together as a summary, construction, there's so in other words, there are design issues in the buildings that exist there, and there's been maybe some even sort of like not so well executed or shoddy construction along the way. But when it comes to the Nolla E simulation process, is that a long-term relationship with the customer, or is it done like, say that there's a building owner that's listening to it and says, great, I want to find out what could be done about my building. Is that a quick process? Is that a long process? Is this what is to be expected?
it's quite quick right now, because we have pretty much automated a lot of engineering work,
Hmm.
and that's why we're able to do such a detailed analysis in such a short time. It's like 4 weeks currently.
Okay. So, in other words, there is hope for the building owners out there, even if there's been some sort of quick decisions made along the way. So these can be there's some sort of mediation measures that can be can be done later to improve these buildings.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Nikolas, and anybody who's in the business of trying to improve the energy efficiency in their building. I guess they can contact you and find out what could be done about their building. Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Nikolas.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you for listening. To follow future episodes, subscribe to our newsletter at www.actionenergymarket.com and select Action Energy Market Global Service. We publish new episodes on Fridays. If you are a technology provider or developer in the energy or clean infrastructure area, add your solution to our solution bank.